Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1434 of our daily content grind. It's another Patreon request that has been put off for way too long. I thank you for your patience. This time we're going to be talking Sideswipes here on the tier list menu. I hadn't really thought about doing individual character ones too much, but okay, we can try this out. Now, these all come from different series, different generations, so you'll excuse me if this is all over the place with what I'm describing. Keep in mind, wherever I rank these, it's not in comparison to each other. I mean, obviously, if we're comparing like toy quality, Masterpiece is going to go up top, older G1 toys are going to go to the bottom. I am comparing them based on what else was around at the time in their own universe, in their own toy lines. So it's all relative to where they came from. So yeah, we could put, like a really, really good Sideswipe against, what would normally be thought of as a bad toy or a lesser toy, because at the time or in its toy line, yeah, it stacks up. So that's what we're going with here. So I have come up with a list. It's not literally every Sideswipe toy out there. What I've done is I've taken all the major ones. The request was for the major Sideswipes. So I took all of the important ones, all the molds. All the major molds are represented here, which got me to about 20, and then we threw in some famous repaints just for fun. And it's going to start in an interesting place because I just kind of randomized the order here. And it starts with the Action Master Sideswipe, European exclusive, and oddly enough, a throwback to the original Action Master concept, where the partner little drone thing formed armor on the toy rather than just like a big gun or like a little weapon emplacement. I much prefer the idea of the little companion piece turning into like equipment or armor, because that adds to like the Action Master itself has some level of transforming to it. Now, compared to other Action Masters, the Sideswipe does look good. He's in his proper color scheme, which is something of a reach for Action Masters sometimes. No, I'm not talking about Thundercracker. I'm talking about Starscream. That gray head throws me off every time. But this one, like, compared to other Action Masters, yeah, like, I would put somewhere up. Like, I actually prefer the armor ones. I prefer the armor ones compared to, like, I'm just holding a big gun. That feels like it's more integrated. It feels more fun to me. Okay, Alternator Sideswipe. This one is always weird because it's, like, so not Sideswipe. I've never been too thrilled with the mold. I find it's clunky and low in articulation in some spots. The resemblance to the original Sideswipe gets a little bit iffy in certain areas because Alternators was a weird line. I did a whole video about how weird that line turned out, so go take a look at that. I mean, visually it's okay. Love the vehicle mode. Like, he doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great either. I think that puts him as a great candidate for just a plain old retail release. That sounds about right to me. Okay, fun one. This is BotCon animated Sideswipe based on the animated Hot Rod mold, or I guess Rodimus or Rodimus Major, depending on the release you're looking at. The point is, it's actually not a bad mold to use for that. It's got a remolded head, so it does look more like Sideswipe. You have to kind of ignore the fact that Sideswipe's never had that fin coming off his back. But otherwise, you are dealing with a fairly similar structure. You do have the hood, facing forward, chest kind of thing. So you have elements of Sideswipe in the Hot Rod design. I can see why they went with the choice. And it's the G2 color scheme, which is interesting. It sets him apart from the character who was originally supposed to be animated Sideswipe, and we don't speak of him anymore. But I thought this was a pretty good usage, and I love going with the G2 colors, especially with a double rocket launcher, bow and arrow. It feels like a G2 style to me. Yeah, I'm going to put him up here. We'll put him above the Action Master. I really like that redeco. I thought that's a really inspired one. Okay, so here's the toy I've talked about in the past. I always wish there were better photos of it out there because this thing is a really, really rare piece. So this is a Platinum Edition Sideswipe. It was packed in with an Optimus Prime, and it's the G1 color scheme on a movie, like a Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe. Now, I'm not a big fan of the deluxe Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe. You will see that once we get to him on the list. But that said, the colors do help a lot. The black and the red, I mean, it actually works on that mold. I like how it works, and I like how it looks, and I really wish it was not a weird pack-in exclusive thing that was super hard to get. At retail, I thought this would have done just fine. But at retail, I believe they just called it Swerve. Because that's the whole thing. Was it a red sports car? Yeah, it was probably Swerve at retail. The deco does help bump it up, but it's still a mold that I'm not terribly thrilled about, so I can't put it very high. Here we go. Cue the car nuts to get mad at me again for what I'm about to say. Okay. I don't know if this list was requested just to hear me bash on this toy one more time or not. Armada Sideswipe is a worse toy than Armada Hotshot. Hands down. This is one of the worst figures I've ever played with. The gimmicks barely or do not work. The little springboard on the front of the hood does not work. The flip out gimmick only works if the pegs are still tight. The extended car mode thing doesn't work because it just looks like the car is being ripped in half. It doesn't look like a super mode. The robot mode is poorly proportioned, poorly articulated, kibble in really, really bad spots, pathetic looking weapon. It has a little power punch gimmick that's really hard to trigger because there's no proper switches for it. And yeah, I think the vehicle mode is still boring. There is nothing you can say to convince me that that vehicle mode is not boring. I don't care if you like the Nissan Skyline. I really don't. That's a sedan. Next to the sports cars and race cars and luxury cars the Transformers normally uses for its characters, that looks like a boring car. That just looks like an everyday boring car, the kind that I would not park next to at the grocery store because I don't think the driver paid enough for the car to care if it gets damaged by swinging the doors around too hard. That's the kind of car it is. I'm sorry, it's just not nearly as cool as other Transformer cars. You can be a car nut, that's fine, and you can like that car, that's fine. I'm saying by comparison, it's a really boring car for a character that's supposed to be a hero. Oh, and then you pack in one of the worst mini-cons too. Flea market level. Get down there, never return. So, that out of the way, this is Cyber Battalion Sideswipe, and I love the Cyber Battalion lines. They are stupid, but I love them. This was the super simple toy before Transformers Authentics was a thing. These are still actually made to have some level of quality to them while still being very large and very affordable. It's a shame they were so limited and weird in release because some of them were genuinely good toys for their price. The Sideswipe is weird because it's a retool of Prowl, meaning he is like the front end forward, not the hood forward for the chest. He kind of works it. I'm not going to lie, he kind of works it. It's a weird Sideswipe, but for what it is, I don't think it was a bad toy. There are limitations I have to consider, but I'm also comparing it to other Cyber Battalions. And that mold is one of the better Cyber Battalions. I remember for a while I was hunting down a copy of that, thinking, if I get really bored, I could probably customize that into like a Rapido or something. But for now, I think higher end retail is going to be the good spot for it. There's definitely better Cyber Battalions, but he's pretty good. If he was Prowl, I'd put him premium price. It's the fact that it's a little mismatch for the character that's throwing me off just a little bit. Okay, so this is the Dark of the Moon Sideswipe. And here's the hot take no one out there is going to agree with. This is my favorite movie Sideswipe toy. I think this is the best one. Not only am I really impressed by the toy because it's a convertible vehicle, meaning it doesn't have the convenience of cramming all the robot bits in where all the humans are supposed to set, and still manages to pull off a nice transformation. It's the least kibbled of any of the movie Sideswipe toys. I think it plays the best. He doesn't have those stupid like rubber pistons in the hips that make the hips really annoying to pose. He has feet. That's going to be very important. I like this toy. I like that toy quite a bit, even in my like movie aesthetic hating heart. I still really like that toy. Okay, so G1. We have to think about this. So, comparing him to the other G1 cars, I would call him one of the more accurate ones. The Sunbow, we're not considering cartoon accuracy because in the first year, Sunbow just kind of went nuts, and it's not the toy's fault that they're inaccurate. So, we're just going to go on quality of the toy, and I think the toy is pretty good. Like, the transformation is simple, but I think it's a fun one. He gets the rifle and the missile launcher, which is good. He looks pretty nice. The proportions aren't bad. Maybe a little bit thin in the arms, but it's G1. That's kind of the norm for the arms to be small. I think this is one of the better G1s. I think, like, for the 84 cast, I think Sideswipe's one of the better ones. I would again put him like comparatively to other G1 like Autobot cars. I think I'd put him to the premium. I would put him very high up on my lists. Like I would have to go to like Soundwaves to get better toys. And then speaking of, we also have the G2. So this is going to be very much a personal preference thing. Yes, he has more accessories, thus he should technically be better than the Sideswipe. The G1. It's basically an inversion of his main colors. Red for black, black for red. So he's not visually all that different. He's still got the same color scheme on, but it's a little bit more striking with the black as the prominent. The big factor here is, how do you feel about the neon green thrown in? That's where the 90s really just starts punching you in the face on this toy. So, that in mind, I like him better. I like him better than the OG. I like him better than the OG. There is something about the red jumping out from the black that just looks really cool. And I kind of like I like the electric green thrown in. Big shock. I'm going to give it to the green here. You know what? It is what it is. So, my list, my rules. So this is going to be super confusing for some of you out there because this is an obscure cut. This is a Sideswipe, don't get me wrong. And it's not a spy changer. It's a GoBot. It's a GoBot from Generation 2. And this was an entire subline of Transformers that were essentially designed to be Hot Wheels cars. They were compatible with they're the size it took to be compatible with Hot Wheel tracks, and similar to a Hot Wheel car, they had a solid axle design that went all the way through. That way it rolled really, really well. This, on the other hand, blue and electric green. Yeah, this is not what you would think of with Sideswipe, and that's because they didn't care. The entire range of GoBots was never designed to look like any of the original characters. Some of them just happen to share colors once in a while. But the toys themselves were gang molded, so parts of one toy would be part of the sprue of another toy. Meaning the colors were kind of randomized on some of these, so like the leftovers, like Sideswipe here, they get to suffer. So it makes for a very, very poor Sideswipe. And I'm putting it down bargain bin, not because it's the GoBot level engineering, because all of them in that line had that. It's because, yes, he was not one of the ones chosen to have, like, some semblance of his original color, but he's also just boring and just very plain. There's no extra paint, there's no tampograph, no stickers, no nothing. Like, at least some of the other GoBots had a little bit more flair going on. This guy got absolutely nothing. Like, he very much is an afterthought in the entire run. So, bargain bin he goes. That is going to bring us to the Generations version of Sideswipe from the War for Cybertron games. This is technically the fall of Cybertron line, where they expanded it out. And it's just a retool of the Jazz. And as such, it does not really represent the character in the game very well, and that Jazz mold is decidedly okay. It is an okay toy, and it is not really very representative of Sideswipe. It's just the closest they could get to a second use on the mold, I guess. No. That's gonna put you the low end of the retail release. Yeah, okay toy means you end up right in the middle of retail. But just being like a low effort retool, nah, you gotta go down. You gotta go down. Then we get into the Masterpiece Sideswipe, and I know some people think is his age, but I am immediately jumping it all the way up to the Holy Grail status. So, this one originated some engineering techniques. This is the first time I can remember seeing what we now would call inside-out engineering on a Transformer toy. Specifically, the legs did that. And it was a really kind of innovative thing at the time. It's like its piece of masterpiece magic. And it was a fantastic toy. I still think this is a really, really fun toy. I still think this is a dead solid Transformer toy. It's one of those where, like, if you have the opportunity to experience, like, any level of Masterpiece, grab him. If you're curious about Masterpiece and you can find this guy for not too much, grab him. He's really, really good. He's really, really good. And obviously, he's a really good representation of Sideswipe himself. So, great all around. It's Masterpiece for a reason, right? We have another one of the GoBots, but this one is a little bit more interesting. It's from RID. It is Sideswipe. This time it is a Spy Changer, because it's part of that subline. But this one is based on an unreleased mold. And that makes it a little bit interesting. But also, the gang molding also means his colors are weird. But here they actually worked with it a little bit. And he's got a blue head, he's got green on the chest, he's got yellow legs and a yellow gun. So he's a little all over the place. He's a little all over the place. But that said, I don't think he looks terrible. Like, they definitely gave him some extra personality. And he definitely stands out amongst the Spy Changers. Like, if you look at the original 6 Spy Changers, everyone kind of makes sense. Like, everyone's kind of doing their own thing in the main Spy Changers line, but they all kind of work it. And they all look like they're doing what they're supposed to do. And then you got these 4 weird ones on the side. There's a tiny little Prowl 2 cop car. We don't talk about Prowl 2 anymore either, because the universe starts imploding. We have this super weird sideburn. Really weird that there's a tiny little sideburn in this line, but okay. He's just kind of there. He's just kind of there, but he stands out for being so weird. I'm putting him up here. Like, amongst Spy Changers, I think he's at least unique. I could do with a little bit less clash in color. That would have bumped him up a little bit higher. Human Alliance Sideswipe is one of those I was really torn on, because it is equal parts good and frustrating. You'll recall, like, back in like a lifetime ago at this point, one of the more experimental reviews I did was a split screen talking about this toy, because I was of two minds about it. There's some bad about the toy, there's some good about the toy, and I still kind of feel that way. Like, it's doing some things a lot better than the deluxe. The colors are spot on. You know, the silver's brilliant on it. You know, the integration with Epps and giving him stuff to do is cool. But it still suffers some of the same problems that Sideswipe design has had. You know, the imbalance in the feet, the weird rubber for the hips, for the piping, the I don't know. It's just, I'm still like right in the middle about it. I'm still just like right in the middle about it. This is as much as I'm able to care about this toy. So in the middle he goes. He's gonna stay there. And now, speaking of, here is the original, the OG, the Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe. and I still do not like this toy. Because they were trying to do the wheel foot thing from the movie, he has barely any balance to him. He's very annoying to get standing up and keep standing up. Doesn't help that he has a really big kibble backpack. Does not help that he has those rubber pistons in the hips that make the legs hard to pose. The toy looks really nice. It does not play nice. It does not function nice. I think it could have been a lot better. And we have proof it could have been a lot better. I mean, obviously, toy engineering was not what it was then as it is now. But all you had to do was make a couple exceptions, and this toy would have been so much nicer. So much nicer. Just give me good feet and give me open hips. That's all I want. I don't think that's so much. Do you? Apparently it was back then. So I could have loaded this thing full of Siege Sideswipe toys. We're going to keep it to a minimum, though. We're only going to go with some of the really big standout things. And this one, yeah. This one you could be either or on because, yeah, Armada Wheeljack was kind of designed to resemble Sideswipe. Maybe by accident, maybe by Takara's intentional design. That's all still up in the air. There's nothing confirming or denying any of that. I think Hasbro's stance is it's completely coincidental that the toy looks so much like Sideswipe. But when you turn that design into the Shattered Glass Sideswipe, and then you adapt it to a modern Sideswipe mold, it works, but it's still not entirely accurate, is it? Like, there's still a few things off about it. Now, that said, this one also came with a Minicon, and it's a nice update of his Minicon, and I do think it works well enough. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I like it. I like it, I think it works well. I'm kind of looking forward to the Wheeljack version, so I can, I don't know, I can't even remember if I have the Wheeljack version or not. Sideswipe molds are a blur in my brain right now of how many I have gone through at this point. The Wheeljack's not out yet. The Wheeljack's not out yet. I can't have it yet. But the point being, I do like this toy. I'm going to put it up to premium because of Minicon, because color scheme looks nice. It works on that mold. If it was a little bit more accurate, you could argue a holy grail spot. And then we go to the original Shattered Glass Sideswipe, done from the Wheeljack mold. And again, this is one of those ideas that Bakon comes up with. It's like, you know what? You actually hit something on the head there. Because that actually does look a lot like Sideswipe. And when you pattern him as an evil Sideswipe, or a mirror universe Sideswipe, that works a lot. So I'll give him credit for the design and appearance and the cleverness of it. But it is still not the best of Armada toys. Well, maybe. Vehicle mode always looks nice, yeah. Robot mode is at least well proportioned. It's distinct, I give it that. Does have a lot of kibble, but that's because of the gull-wing door gimmick, which is not one of the more egregious gimmicks in that line. I'm talking myself up to putting it higher. Yeah, I mean, based on what it was doing, I think I could argue it to be like a low end of the premium side of things. If I'm being relative to other toys at the time, that actually ends up working. Masterpiece version of G2 Sideswipe. Now, this one was fun. It came with a lot of stickers that are not on this photo. You could give him the green stripes as an option. You could give him like proper like G1 or G2 Autobot symbols as an option. The best part about it was ludicrous amount of accessories, which included the new spiked wheels on the shoulders, which was accurate to the comic book, the gigantic engine guns, which was accurate to the comic book, the knife. He came with the knife, and he's got this big G2 comic book grimace on his face that just seals the deal. Top tier Sideswipe toy. It's so good. It's so good. All right, just for fun, let's throw in the smallest transforming Transformer Sideswipe, shall we? And I love this line. And I'm going to here. I'm going to make a really. I'm going to make a really weird argument here. I'm going to make a really weird argument here. Put it high end to premium. Not above the G1. Let's not go crazy. But I'm going to put it on the higher side of premium. Why? Because within his own line, he is one of the standouts. No, he does not have an accessory, which is why he's not in Holy Grail tier. But he maintains the same transformation scheme, the same, in enough accuracy to make me satisfied at that tiny, tiny, tiny little size. I think he's one of the better transitions from the G1 size to the smallest size. So in and of that toy line, I think he's one of the best. I would have to, you'd have to start throwing like Hot Rod at me in order to get me to put a smallest transformer any higher than that. All right, we continue on. Which one is this? Which one is this? No, this is the Studio Series, I believe. It's getting hard to tell them apart. They all look the same now. So, the Studio Series release, I've only briefly messed with. I liked it for what it was. It's still got like some of the problems, but they have ironed it out quite a bit. Like, obviously, we've done away with like instability in the legs. Like, he has actual like vehicle kibble being used as feet. I don't think it's the best solution. I think other Sideswipe molds have gotten that better, but at least it's an effort. You get a gun and the blades instead of having to choose between the two, which is what they did in the old school days. Proportionally, he's fine. His hips are unintruded. That's good. I'm not crazy about the figure, though. I'm honestly not crazy about the figure. I don't think it's terribly bad, but I'm not really crazy about it. Not really crazy about it. I put it basically on par with the original. Whereas this one functions better as an action figure. The original one at least had a more solid feel to it. So I think this is fair. Just kind of like lump that set all together. And then we get into Sidearm Sideswipe. And this one, again, I didn't have a terrible amount of experience. I think by the time he came out, I was starting to get a little bit fed up with movie bots. But he does fix a lot that the original had. He does still have the weird rubber hips that are like getting in the way of his leg articulation a little bit, but he has proper feet. They actually gave him feet, and he's also not quite as kibbled because they played around with the shape and form of the toy. Also, I kind of like the flames just to make him stand out a little bit. It's still not crazy, but like I think I'd put him top of retail. He works for me. So, the Sunset Sideswipe from the Toxitron line that contained a lot of unreleased G2 redecos. The mold itself is still fine. It's a good mold. I will admit, we were all exhausted of it by the time it came out. But I think here, like, the color scheme is dragging it down a lot. This toy is a novelty. The fact that it exists and is a thing is purely a novelty. And whether or not that appeals to you, that is up to you. That is a complete preferential thing. Me, I don't think it really needs to exist. I don't think it's a great looking color scheme. Like the bright blue and the bright yellow together. I know it's supposed to be eye bleeding. It is. But also it just feels weird, and like I don't like that all the blue is completely flat and plain. You don't have any face paint to make that stand out. You want to drop a toy low in my standings. Don't put any face paint on it, especially on a character where it would really help, or where face paint is expected, because Sideswipe usually has a painted silver face. That would get me a lot farther on this toy than just that. Okay, moving on. We have the new Gamer Edition. The new Gamer Edition Sideswipe. And this toy is entirely okay. I don't feel one way or another about it. It just kind of exists as a toy, as a Sideswipe toy that does exist in the universe. Um, yeah, so I'm trying to come up with like positives to it, like because like it's definitely better than the first attempt, but also it's got a big old backpack of junk attached to it, which is not very sightly. It is somewhat game accurate. They did try to make it game accurate, but it's also kind of a clunky figure. Yeah, like it's middle of the road. It's absolute middle of the road. I'm trying to give it more credit than that. I really am, but yeah, the mold just does not do a whole lot for me. It's just kind of how that goes. Okay. So, talking about toys of their time. This is the OTFCC Sideswipe, which is the stand-in for BotCon temporarily. And actually one of the other, like, I used to own this one. Been a hot minute, been a long time, but yeah, like this used to be in the collection. And it's not bad at all. Like, no, like this comes from that era where, if the vehicle mode matched, they would make it that character and then just kind of cram the character into the robot mode. And sometimes that led to some really, really fun little redecos and like gives you like an imagination play of like, what if this character, kind of adapted and evolved and like became more advanced, rather than just kind of sticking to the same design all the time. Sideswipe always being like your standard like hood as the chest and all that, and the black helmet and all that. That's like me wearing the same shirt and having the same hairstyle every day. I've had the same hairstyle for years. Don't get me wrong, but I don't wear the same shirt every single day. That's a little excessive. But that said, I like this one a lot. Aside from the fact the mold itself is really good, one of the best ones out of RID, Car Robots, call it what you will. I think the red looks really, really good on it. I mean, of course, red, black, and silver, you're not going to get that color scheme wrong. You're just not. And it does help that he does turn into a Lamborghini. So in vehicle mode, it's Sideswipe. So it just kind of comes off as Sideswipe in a far more advanced body. So you throw all that together, interesting repaint, really, fits well enough. I think that's a holy grail toy. And I think that's one of the better BotCon, OTFCC, call it what you want, exclusives they ever did. Because it's just really, really cool. And it works in a really weird way. There are a bunch of toys for 2015 RID Sideswipe that I could have thrown on this list. I decided just to keep it to the Warrior class figure. I didn't want to go too crazy on this one. Because, yeah, he's got a lot of weird gimmicky toys that I really didn't feel like were fair comparisons. But we'll throw this one in. And I am not judging it low because it's a Warrior class toy. I'm judging it low because I don't think it was a well-created Warrior class toy. This one felt boring to me. Like, I didn't really get a whole lot out of it. I don't really remember it, like, jumping out at me. Like, it just kind of felt samey. There's always been this weird thing about this toy where when we first got it in hand and we saw it and we like the coloring, like the paint over the translucent parts is actually like way more off than usual. Hasbro's always had trouble matching paint to plastic when it comes to painting clear parts. This one was worse than normal. And in that, we were starting to speculate because, like, if you looked on the inside of the arms, you would see white, and everyone, like, I think the first thought was like, oh, they use stickers. They were too cheap to paint the toy, so they used stickers over the clear parts. And I don't know if that was ever proven. I can't find it if I Google for it now. I can't find it listed on TF Wiki. I think it was just a weird paint application they were trying, and it did not work. But on a toy that's already okay, you throw in something weird like that just kind of diminishes the look. Yeah, I'm going to take it down a notch. You're going to go in the bargain bin. Now, how do we judge this Sideswipe? This is Universe 2.0, and this is one of the most brilliant molds they ever did because it's designed to be easily retooled into Sunstreaker. Now, is it a great representation? No. It's like a lot of the Universe 2.0 G1 toys where You can tell the movie's influence of overly complex engineering was getting to them a little bit. But as a... And, you know, there's some weird proportion things to this toy to make like the dual function work. But I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. In fact, like, I will take in account the fact that the mold itself is exceptionally clever in the way it was designed. Probably one of the most intelligent remolds they ever did. But I think it ages very poorly. For the time, it was okay. It was good for the time. But there were definitely better toys. There were definitely better toys in Universe 2.0. You know, things that showed they could be doing a little bit better. Like the Hound, I think, is a much superior toy. But it's still good. I'll put it high end of retail. And then we get to the most overused child of them all. So, here's the thing. Before I tell you where I'm putting this toy in this listing, you have to acknowledge with me that the whole reason why we kind of look down on this mold now a little bit is because we have seen it so many times. It's been one of Hasbro's favorite molds to use for years now. But that is because it is a good toy. It's very well designed and well engineered, and obviously it's shown a great amount of versatility. You know, it's been Cybertronian, it's been the Earth mode, is taking on every color scheme Sideswipe has ever had, and then some. It's now being retooled into an Armada character, and it still mostly works. And at the base of it, you've got a clean, efficiently transforming figure, minimal junk hanging off, good representation of the character, good level of articulation, not a whole lot of hollowing to bother me. I think it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best Sideswipes. I don't think there's any denying that. It's just a really dead solid toy. It just is. I'm sorry if you're tired of it, but that toy has proven itself. Alright, so that's going to come to the end of the list. And if I look at this, am I happy with the placements of everything? If I give the Armada remold a little bit more credit, we'll bump it up to the middle of premium. I don't think I bumped the G1 or the G2 up into premium. Even for their time, I can think of toys on the aisle that were better than them. So I think high premium is fine. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this listing. I think I'm okay with this list. There's only one thing we need to change. There we go. Now I'm okay with this list. So, those are where I put the major Sideswipe toys, and then a few others we threw in just because why not? So, in the comment section, this is the part where you get to tell me how wrong I am, and where your favorite Sideswipe should go, and which Sideswipe I really should have included in the list. I was just trying to keep the more known ones in there. Sorry. But that's what I got for you today. I hope that was a sufficient Sideswipe list for the requester. Thank you very much for the support, and thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.